Hey guys, welcome back. This is Kyle, and you're watching the Fantasy Football Upside. We're starting this week off with another Monday mock draft. Today, though, we're going to do a 12-team standard scoring Superflex league. If you haven't played in a Superflex before, that is a league that has a flex spot that allows you to start a QB in that spot as well. So usually what you're doing is you're starting two QBs. Make sure that you go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you can get all kinds of content like this regularly that we share. And let's go ahead and dive into this mock. Let me get my screen shared for you so that we can do that right now. All right. So here we go. As you can see, I've already got it set up for the 2020 season standard scoring snake draft, basic opponent logic. We're going to go ahead and randomize our position. We're doing 12 teams, which can be a little tough in a Superflex because most teams are going to carry at least two QBs. And one of the differences with a two QB league like this is that you do kind of want to break that rule about drafting QBs early or later, rather than later. All right, looks like we're going to draft from the third position. That's pretty decent in this. We've got one QB, two running backs, three wide receivers, one tight end, one regular flex, one super flex, 5 bench spots, and we're not drafting a defense or kicker because you're going to save those to your last picks as is. And then we've got 120 seconds on the clock. We're just going to use Fantasy Pros expert consensus rankings as our cheat sheet here. One of the nice things that I like about Fantasy Pros is you can set up your own cheat sheet as well. So if you want to sign up for that, you can do that and get that sort of thing going. Oh, wow. Right off the board, we've lost Mahomes and Lamar Jackson. So we're just going to dive in. We're going to take that running back right up front. We could take a QB, but I don't put anybody in the category of a first-round pick right now other than I would personally probably put Kyler Murray somewhere up near there, and that's about it. But I'm not going there with him. Instead, I'm going to just go ahead and take Christian McCaffrey, and that's a pretty solid, simple decision. If there's anybody who's going to invade that space in the Superflex league in the first 2 picks, instead of Mahomes or Lamar Jackson, it's going to be him. So, all right, let's go and jump in here. See what we've got on the draft board as far as who's been taken. As you can imagine, wow, a lot of QBs right off the board. Even in a super flex like this, I wouldn't have reached in the first round for that, but that's kind of an interesting take there. We've got Saquon Barkley going off the board as Ezekiel Elliott. So the QBs that are gone: Russell Wilson, Kyler Murray, Dak Prescott, and Deshaun Watson. We could try to grab a QB here, but I'm betting that what we should do is just ultimately wait. It's going to end up grading us pretty poorly because we're dealing with a 2 QB league. But there's still value there. There's Drew Brees, Matt Ryan, that sort of stuff. Off the board, we also lost Saquon Barkley, Ezekiel Elliott, Derrick Henry, Dalvin Cook, Alvin Kamara, Nick Chubb, Joe Mixon, Josh Jacobs, Aaron Jones, and 5 wide receivers. So it's kind of up to us now where we want to go with this. Let's see what value is left at the QB spot. I would say let's just wait until the turn comes back. We're going to pick in about 5 picks after this one. And so I think that we can either probably grab Matt Ryan or Drew Brees or Matt Stafford. A lot of people are really down on Aaron Rodgers this year. And that's kind of appropriate. If you really look at what's occurred in that offense, they lost about 100 passing opportunities per year based on 2018 to 2019. 100 passing opportunities is a lot. They went from being a top 5 to top 12 passing offense as far as volume to being 20th in the league, being the bottom third essentially, right? All right, so as far as wide receivers and running backs, there's a lot of good value here. I think what we're going to go ahead and do is maybe dig in on another running back. Maybe not. I don't know. I like Miles Sanders, but there's a lot of good value here at wide receiver. We can stack a solid wide receiver here. And let's go ahead and grab Godwin and see what happens after this. All right, Sanders is off the board. Kenny Golladay is gone. Wow, Kenyon Drake went ahead of Miles Sanders. That's kind of surprising. Travis Kelce's first tight end off the board. There might be a little break here on QBs. We aren't going to pick for a very long time, though. So going after a running back or a wide receiver might be a smart move here. we could really stack a solid team up front, but QB is where we've really got to build depth so that we're able to compete. I'm not a huge fan of Josh Allen. If you've watched any of our stuff here, you know that I think Josh Allen is a little bit overrated. That offense is not going to be throwing a ton. They drafted Zach Moss. They intend to run the ball more, I think. They're going to try to get Josh Allen to stay in the pocket more and get him to throw more in those designed plays that are supposed to be throws where he took off and ran. But really what you have to measure with Josh Allen is that he's not likely to have the same output as he did last year because he's in for a touchdown regression. He ran 9 touchdowns in last year, and that's not a likely outcome to have happened. So I'm going to go with Matt Ryan here. Go ahead and grab that QB, get ourselves kind of set up, hoping that something falls back on the next round for us here. I'd like to go with a running back if we can. Taking that QB there was probably a good idea. Josh Allen was the next QB off the board, and then a lot of depth fell. But Matthew Stafford is still on the board. It looks like there's several teams that have already stacked their second QB. Let's see here. Let's check and see what we've got at running back. All right. Todd Gurley's still on the board. I like him a lot this year. I think that's solid. We'd get a stack with him and Matt Ryan if we take him there. Calvin Ridley is also a possibility. But I think what we want to do is I do believe that what we would benefit the most from is probably running back right now. Let's see. Mark Andrews is on the board still, but I'm not going to reach in the 4th round here for a tight end. Nothing's changed in that regard. Yeah, you have 2 flex spots. You can start a tight end in that spot, but I don't think that a running or a QB is going to come out of that spot for me. Matt Stafford is available here, but I think that while I really like Matt Stafford, there's a couple other guys I'm willing to grab as my second QB, whereas running back right now, I really do think that I start seeing a drop-off. There's a couple guys that it has marked in tier 4 that I would rate a little bit higher than where they are. I think I would put them into that tier 3 as well. Wide receiver, I do like DJ Moore, and I also like Calvin Ridley. So let's see what we can get here. I'm going to go ahead and take Todd Gurley and see what happens. We'll see if any more of the QBs run off the board. There's Tom Brady's gone, DJ Moore's gone, Calvin Ridley's gone. All right, let's check out the wide receiver situation. I would have liked to have been able to grab either Ridley or DJ Moore, but that's not the end of the world for me because I do like Robert Woods there. I think he's going to have a solid year. In my opinion, I saw a question on Twitter the other day asking who is wide receiver 1 in LA, and by my estimation, it's probably Robert Woods. He is a king of volume there. He's very consistent on the volume front. Last year was a bit of an anomaly for him because he really just did not score touchdowns. That was, I think, a little bit more symptomatic of the offense in general there. They were really having trouble finding themselves. And then about halfway through that year, they shifted to being a tight end specific offense. They were running out of the 12 package the whole time where they were 2 tight ends and they were trying to run the ball down people's throats or they were throwing short to tight ends. Robert Woods was getting a lot of short yardage targets, but he was not getting much beyond that. If we look at running back, there's a couple of guys that I would target a little further down the board. I feel good about where we are at running back right now with McCaffrey and Gurley. So I think where we're going to go here is probably, Andrews in the 5th isn't terrible. But there's a lot of value still at tight end, I think. Whereas wide receiver, we're getting our second wide receiver here. I think that it's got to be Robert Woods. I look down a little bit further. I see DJ Chark and Devontae Parker, T.Y. Hilton. I'm not high on Keenan Allen, but Michael Gallup's hiding down there as well. So there's a couple guys that could fill out our wide receiver 3 spot coming back around. We'll see what's there for us. I don't know. Some people are really, really, really high on Terry McLaurin. I like him. He's okay. He's not my favorite. Another name out there is DK Metcalf. A lot of people love him. So there's still a ton of value here that I think there should be something available to us. So we're going to go ahead and take Robert Woods, and we got 19 picks here coming around. So a few of those names gone off the board. Wide receivers, there was a real run on it. Mark Andrews and Zach Ertz finally went off the board. Matt Stafford finally went off the board as well. And if we look here, we see that there's 4 teams that have grabbed their second QB so far. We might investigate QB here. It's still a little early. I think that there's probably a big drop-off coming, but we do see guys available right now like Michael Gallup, Marvin Jones, Stephon Diggs. There's a few of those guys. Let's see what's available at running back. All right, David Montgomery is a solid choice here, and so is Raheem Mostert. I like Mostert a lot. I also like Kareem Hunt a lot. And I think there's, in my opinion, there's a bit of a drop-off that comes up here. You've got Ronald Jones hiding down there. QB, we've got Roethlisberger, Tannehill's serviceable. Newton is going to be pretty solid, I think, for this year in New England. Kirk Cousins is not bad as a QB2 for us. He's not going to put in stellar days, but in a flex spot, what you're really looking for is consistency most often. And QB offers a really good amount of consistency. And that offense offers a decent amount of consistency. We don't have Dalvin Cook to pair that up with and stack that, but we do have a running back QB stack already on our team. So I think that where we're going to go here, I'm leaning towards Montgomery just because I like the volume there, but I also like Mostert a lot. My concerns are that offense doesn't always feature the running back. And if we're looking at our potential flex spot here, that's a concern for me. I think I'm going to wait and see what happens on the wide receivers coming around the turn, try to take another wide receiver or the QB depending. And I'm going to go ahead and take David Montgomery here in this spot. Volume for me at running back 3 is a great option. It's a great option there. All right, Darren Waller's gone. Stephon Diggs is gone. Baker Mayfield and A.J. Green are both gone as well. So there's a deep amount of value still at wide receiver. Michael Gallup is there, and that's who I was leaning towards. Let's see what the QB situation is right now. We've got Ben Roethlisberger still, Cam Newton, Ryan Tannehill, Kirk Cousins. I'm going to pass on Joe Burrow right now. If you want to take a high-risk flex, you've got Gardner Minshew. I'm not a huge fan of Garoppolo as far as what his upside is. I think Phillip Rivers offers a good amount of upside. So does Teddy Bridgewater. I think Teddy Bridgewater is going to show up pretty good this year. My concern with Phillip Rivers is that he throws a lot of picks at inopportune moments. And if we jump back at the board here and we look to see who's got 2 QBs, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teams. It's not really gone up much. So we could see a run on QB. We might regret passing on QB here, but we still have Raheem Mostert as an option. We still have Kareem Hunt as an option, but I think where we want to go is pick up that third wide receiver. I like Michael Gallup a whole lot. This is a guy who's we've marked in our breakout episodes, so go ahead, check that out. That's just from last week as well that we did more breakouts, but Gallup was from our first breakout episode that we did this summer. This is a guy who's clearly on the rise. This is an offense that's going to be able to support 2 guys who could perform as wide receiver ones. And there's a question about whether or not Amari Cooper can sustain a whole year. So Michael Gallup, the only risk that he really has is he had a lot of drops last year, good amount of drops. But if he shores that up, look, Devontae Adams had a whole lot of drops his rookie and his second year. We're looking at Michael Gallup going into his third year here. He could clear this problem up, and if he does, he could be the next Devontae Adams for you. I mean, it's Mike McCarthy's offense, right? That's who we're going to go with is Michael Gallup here. 19 picks again. We got to wait. Let's see. I see a couple QBs. Teddy Bridgewater got grabbed there. Tannehill got grabbed. So there's a few of those QBs. We might be waiting a little bit too long here, guys, on QB. I think if we're going to grab anybody at this point, we're starting to look at situations where it's like, maybe this is the last serviceable guy I'm going to grab here potentially, and I think that's it. I think that's where we are is Phillip Rivers. So we're probably going to have to grab Phillip Rivers here. We pushed it as long as we probably could. I'd like to see if Kareem Hunt will last on the turn here. I don't know that he will. There's a few other guys here. I'd like to grab another running back at this spot. We already have 3. We've got Montgomery, Todd Gurley. We've got Christian McCaffrey. I mean, we're building a pretty solid team. I think that the spot that we could actually add value to our team is QB right now. And we should start considering tight end here. We are in the 8th round. And if I look here, there's a couple guys here. Look, Austin Hooper's finally starting to fall, I see in their consensus rankings. That's good. He had been upward 7th or 8th, somewhere in that range. And right now he's actually just sitting ahead of Hayden Hurst, who I do like a whole lot. But we're going to go ahead and grab a QB. It's going to be simple. It's going to be Phillip Rivers for us. Now, I know Gardner Minshew offers a lot of upside. Jimmy Garoppolo probably offers a lot of consistency, but I think what you get out of Phillip Rivers is a whole heck of a lot of upside because you have an offense that has built out its passing game a little bit. It's expanded its focus on offense so that it's not just running game, but their running game has maximized its value now. They added Jonathan Taylor, and that move right there is going to spread a lot of stuff out as far as what they can do on the edges because there are going to be more teams trying to drag that 8th man down in the box. And so there's going to be a little bit less coverage over top. There's going to be cornerbacks and safeties who are going to have to play a hybrid spot, and they're going to be a little bit too close to the line every once in a while. When that happens, Phillip Rivers can throw that ball really, really good when he's throwing deep. So, yeah, he's going to check down a whole lot, and that's going to really upset a lot of people, but it's going to be good in the long run for you. All right, if we look here, we do have a chance at Kareem Hunt still. Marvin Jones is available. That's a really good grab, I think, here in the 9th round to grab Marvin Jones would be a phenomenal get, in my opinion. We're looking at pick 99. It's estimating his ADP at around 106. So we would not really have a chance to get Marvin Jones if we're waiting on the next pick. We also see Christian Kirk hanging down there, Deontay Johnson. I would rate Marvin Jones a little bit higher than both of them. I think Kirk has got a really good chance this year as a solid breakout. But I think we've already kind of added one of those guys to our roster, and that's Michael Gallup. So my concern here would be adding a second one at this spot right now. So I think where I want to do actually is I'm going to grab Marvin Jones here. Maybe. Let me see here. Got 3 running backs. I'd like to add a 4th here so that I can have somebody maybe sometimes as a flex option. Maybe that's what I want to do. I don't know. Let me see here. I've got Godwin, Woods, Gallup. No, I'm going to grab Jones. That's where we're going. We're going with Jones here. Marvin Jones is going to turn in a solid wide receiver 2 season for you. He has upside to turn in wide receiver 1 weeks. I would imagine that he's going to finish somewhere probably in the middle of wide receiver 2. I would peg him somewhere probably around 18 to 20th overall in the wide receiver category. So I think that's a great grab in the 9th round. We can start looking at tight end again here if we'd like, but let's see what we lost. Deontay Johnson just went off the board, so that was a good move because we lost both Kirk and Deontay Johnson. We did lose Kareem Hunt, but there was depth behind him that I liked at the running back category. So if we want, we can take a running back here. I think that Tariq Cohen has a ton of upside. Zach Moss has a ton of upside. We are a little bit thinner at the running back in this spot right now, but we've got Boston Scott as a possibility as well down there. He's a really great opportunity, I think, this year because he's going to probably drag around 30% of the carries in that offense. No matter what you believe about Miles Sanders, you still have to contend with the idea that Doug Peterson will split the carries in that offense. So he's going to give an opportunity to a guy who down the stretch last season, in the last 4 games, if you look at the opportunities that both Miles Sanders as well as Boston Scott were given, it actually is a break even. Now you can toss the week 17 kind of out the window because they had figured out that they had made the playoffs. They weren't going to improve their position. And Miles Sanders got, I think, a total of 7 touches in that game, maybe a few less. Maybe a few more, I'm not sure. Boston Scott did pad his totals at the end with that game, but he had 4 games where he was actually comparable in total volume to Miles Sanders. So that's a really good opportunity there. I just wanted to jump into the overall board here, see what's going on, see who might fall off the board here. I think where we're going to go here, though, is we're going to wait a bit on the running back possibly here, and we're going to reach down, and we're going to grab Hunter Henry in the 10th round. I'm not a huge fan of Hunter Henry, but if that rookie gets the start, I think he's going to be targeted a lot. And I think Tyrod Taylor is going to target him a lot too. So, all right. Preston Williams went next, Sterling Shepard, then Darrell Henderson and Latavius Murray. We should look at running back and wide receiver from here on out because that's all we're really aiming for. We've got our one tight end. We've got our two QBs, unless we see some sort of major value there. And again, we could have sat on tight end, guys. We could have sat there and waited. There are other opportunities there. There's Hayden Hurst. Some people are still high on Hooper. I'm not a big fan. Fant will be okay. Gesicki should be okay, but then you go down the board, you see that Dallas Goedert is there. He's going to be pretty solid. And I think Blake Jarwin's going to turn in a phenomenal year. If there's anybody I'm going to break my rule about drafting one tight end only on, it's going to be grabbing Blake Jarwin late over another wide receiver or another running back. In a two flex league like this, I think that's not a terrible move. Running back is still kind of it's okay. Zach Moss is here. He's going to get a good amount of carries because he's going to step right into that Frank Gore role. So I am anticipating somewhere between 160 and 180 carries for him, including goal line opportunities. And I think that's what we want to do is go running back here. And it might seem a bit of a reach, but that's where we're going to go. We're going to go with Zach Moss here. I would like – if I could wait or if I thought the roster were built a little bit differently, I'd like to go after Boston Scott or Tony Pollard as an opportunity here. But I think where I'm going, Zach Moss. So, all right, let's see here. There's a bit of a run on tight ends at this point. There was a lot of value sitting there, like I mentioned. There was also a run at running back, and there wasn't a single wide receiver that went off the board. So if we look at the wide receiver value, it appears that a lot of people think there's a big drop-off here, or at least the consensus ranks are indicating that there's a big drop-off. Let's see what our roster is looking like right now. So we've got Matt Ryan as QB1, and then we've also got Superflex Phillip Rivers. We've got running backs. We've got McCaffrey, Todd Gurley. Let's see here. Who else do we have? We've got David Montgomery and Zach Moss. So we've got four of those guys. Then we've got four wide receivers as well in Chris Godwin, Robert Woods, Michael Gallup, Marvin Jones. I like that ranking or that roster right there. I think that's a pretty solid roster. It's probably going to ding us a little bit on the QB value. It probably thinks that, it's marking Phillip Rivers down. Let's see here. Running back, there was a big run on running back. So I think that what we're doing here at running back at this point is picking these are dart throws. We've got 3 picks left, right? Yeah, 3 picks left. And we've got 4 running backs and 4 wide receivers. So who do we want as our depth? Which one are we going to favor? I don't know. I think A.J. Dillon is a good opportunity here this year. I think that if he's going to take anybody's job, it's going to be Jamal Williams' job. And that's going to be a good amount of carries. It's going to be somewhere in the order of, I think A.J. Dillon's going to be somewhere around 20% of the overall carries in this offense, probably no more. Antonio Gibson, a lot of people like him. He's a dart throw, really, at this point. Carlos Hyde's also a dart throw. Dorinton Evans should get a lot of work in that Tennessee offense, but I think we can feel pretty confident A.J. Dillon's going to get some work here. So we're going to take A.J. Dillon, and then we're going to see what happens at wide receiver. There's still a lot of opportunity at wide receiver here. And the way this is shaping up, maybe we break our rule and take a tight end and go and grab Blake Jarwin. All right, Jamison Crowder's available, but I do like Anthony Miller. I think that this offense is going to try to throw more. The Bears really want to get the ball downfield a little bit more, and I think that Foles will end up being the starter, and I think that he's going to be a little bit more accurate. He's not going to get these guys, hung out to dry and killed. So maybe that's where we go is Anthony Miller. Could come back around and take a tight end in the 14th. I don't like what's going on here with the running backs. I think we're done with running backs. The only guys I would consider at this point, if you're wondering, would be Dorinton Evans. And I like Anthony McFarland Jr. I think that he'll get a good amount of work, but I don't think that it's really his year yet. I think that you give it 2 years, he'll be good to go. If James Conner's going to get hurt this year, he does every year, right? I think he's good for 8 games. then I would probably put Benny Snell as the next guy up for them. So they've got Benny Snell down here. I think Anthony McFarland Jr. is just the flashy name right now. But I think where we're going to go is Anthony Miller here, and then we're going to see. I'm between a few of the running backs, a few of the tight ends, and a few of the wide receivers here. Like I said, I'm not usually going to take a tight end in this situation, but I might. Let's see what picks have gone off the board. Nothing too terrible here. We have a lot of opportunities still. Running back depth is there. Jarenton Evans is there, but like I said, he's a bit of a dart throw. I think where we're going to go is we're going to reach down there and grab Blake Jarwin. He's that X factor a bit. And let's just see what they grade us as. I'm going to guess it's probably going to be somewhere in the B neighborhood. We'll see, though. Yeah, it's a B. All right, so they I think are grading us down a little bit on Matt Ryan being our starter. It's not terrible, but that moves us down the board a little bit. And then our Superflex, it's Phillip Rivers. He's several tiers down in their rankings. And I don't know. I think that they probably are grading our bench a little bit hard just because we have two rookies on there. We've got Zach Moss and A.J. Dillon, but we do have some solid vets right there in wide receiver in Marvin Jones and Anthony Miller. And then we have Blake Jarwin as well, who I expect solid things out of. And look, in a roster like this with those two tight ends, Hunter Henry and Blake Jarwin, one of them is likely to hit for you. You might be able to play matchups. Hunter Henry, you may not get to start right off the top because you don't really know what's going to be happening in that offense. It's a little bit scary there. So I don't really know exactly what to expect just because you don't know who the QB is ultimately going to be there. And not only that, you just can't really anticipate what is going to happen if Tyrod is the QB, where's the offense really going to go? I don't know. All right, guys, that's it for tonight. We'll start back up tomorrow, I think, on our wide receiver rankings. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Click that bell so you get notified every time that we upload the best fantasy football podcast on the internet. We'll see you next time. Thanks for being a fan of the Upside. Bye.